G'day there guys, my name's Marky and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. Let's go. 6 months postpartum, my fiance tells me he loves me less. How do I navigate this emotionally as a single parent? As the title says, I'm 27 female, 6 months postpartum with my beautiful son, my first and only. I've been with my fiance 26 male, going on 6 years, and I'm shattered. When I was pregnant, I started to notice my fiancé withdrawing from me emotionally and physically. For my birthday, 1 week before our son was born, he got me a Starbucks gift card for $25. That was the gift. For Mother's Day, he handed me a dead bouquet of flowers that he left in the garage overnight without water, and a card that should have been made out to his own mother, not the mother of his own child. We've had a dead bedroom since my pregnancy. I've communicated to him many times that I would like for us to work on that. Of course, parents of newborns sometimes go through a roommate phase. I would communicate with him that I'm ready to get back to it, to no avail. He continues to lay in bed watching TikToks while I get our son down for bed, and that is that. Last night, I finally pushed for more direct communication around this feeling. Why is he no longer interested in intimacy? After he skirted around some excuses, he finally tells me that I think you love me more than I love you. He explained that there are levels to love, and that maybe we're just on different levels. I asked, has it always been that way? To which he replies, I guess I just love you less now. To say I'm shattered is kind of an understatement. If we're being honest, I saw it coming. I could feel it. I've spent my pregnancy and the last 6 months being the sole provider, especially financially, for our child. I juggle our baby while working from home. I do it all while fiancé is quote-unquote out of town for most of the time. He says infidelity isn't a part of this, but who knows? Our relationship was never like this before our son. Even though it's not necessarily my fault, I feel like I already failed as a mother, and I wonder what my son will think as he gets older. My fiancé stated that he's hopeful that we work through this, but I said I'm sorry, I just can't make you love me more. What's been said can't be unsaid, you know? 6 months postpartum, and I'm about to be a single mum at 27. In the comments, someone asks, why do you think that you failed your son? You're an amazing mum who was engaged to a deadbeat father and a shitty partner. OP says, I think the heaviness is that I picked the wrong partner. Now seeing how things played out, I never would have engaged or had a child if I'd known how he'd change with becoming a parent. Pregnancy was unplanned? OP says, unexpected, but he was all for it when we found out. Quotes, I feel like I already failed as a mother. The only way that you would have failed as a mother in this case is if you didn't try to address the problem with the child's father. You aren't responsible for what other people do and say. You're only responsible for what you do and say. Here's some questions that you could ask him. How does he plan to work this out? I mean, I'm not even in your situation, and I could name a few things off the top of my head. Spending more alone time together, have somebody babysit, by going on dates, be more involved in listening to you talk about life besides mother talk to a therapist, etc. If he did want to work things out, then how come he made no actions or efforts and remained passive until you brought it up? I mean, I can't say, I want to be a professional sports player, and then expect any good results while not practicing. OP replies, hey, thanks for your reply. I do make an effort to plan a date night here and there. Thankfully, my mum gladly watches our son, so we can do. But it's not really quality time. He's always on his phone, taking calls for work, and his dad, whom he works with. I think he was fine with complacency. He lives with me rent-free, I'm financially supporting our son mostly by myself. I never expected this to be the dynamic, he just doesn't step up. He owns his own business, but he puts all the money back into it, always complains about being broke, etc. He's basically getting a free ride, so I imagine that he wouldn't want to bring it up. Why are you letting him live rent-free? He needs to help you and your son financially. And OP says, we live with my mum, who doesn't charge him or us rent. We live in a high cost of living area and weren't living together when I initially became pregnant. He works for his dad, lives rent-free with you covering all the bills, and yet he's 1, out of town for work, quote-unquote, 2, always broke? This doesn't add up. Literally. Is his dad not paying him? OP says, so he owns the company and his dad works with him. They blow money on equipment for the business, hotels for travel, etc. They blow money before it even hits their accounts, honestly. If your partner works out of town, then why are you the sole provider financially for your child? Does he do any hands-on parenting at all? Spend any time with the baby? Loving you less is a quite vague position. I could hypothesize a number of reasons why he may feel an emotional shift. Some people find that the arrival of a child causes them to view their partner as a mother and not an object of sexual desire. If he wants to work through it, couples counseling could assist. OP says, he supposedly puts all and any profit back into the business, but I know for a fact profits are low because he and his dad blow the money on equipment, etc. He's not that hands-on. I have to basically ask him to babysit so I can take a bath or shower. He just props our son in a baby chair and sits on his phone. It's pathetic. I'm not sure couples counseling would be good for me. I'm pretty checked out mentally and emotionally now that he told me that he loves me less. If I'm honest, I don't think it can be repaired. In this situation, I don't really know what else you could have done, OP. I'm sure if we want to get technical, there were maybe other things that you could have tried to fix the relationship, but really, I feel like you did everything that was reasonably expected of you to get to the bottom of this and to find a solution with your partner. It sucks that he is such a deadbeat dad, and there's so many of them out there like that. There's a lot of deadbeat mums as well, you know, I won't discriminate. There's plenty of deadbeats, regardless of gender out there. But really, I guess you were lied to about who this person that you want to marry was. It took until you had the child for him to show who he really is. And that's not on you for picking the wrong partner. If you went to go buy a delicious cheeseburger meal at McDonald's, you check the bag and you're like, yep, that's a delicious cheeseburger, wrap it up, and on the way home, you wait to open it to eat it, and then you go look back inside and all of a sudden it's transformed into a disgusting fillet of fish. You didn't pick wrong. You ordered exactly the right thing, but it turned out to be something else. The real man here was hiding in plain sight. You unfortunately got. You were played like a fiddle. Lots of people are played like a fiddle. And yeah, it does suck that you have a child with this man now, but that's life, unfortunately. Just got to make the most of it. Got to move on, get rid of him, get that child support, and look forward to better things. Update. First, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I mostly posted to vent, and I'm really glad that I did. Now for the updates. I decided to rip the band-aid off and end things. The engagement is ended, the relationship is ended, all of it. After dinner, our son was taking a nap, and I asked my fiancé when he planned on moving out. Long story short, I had him pack a bag and stay elsewhere tonight. He'll start packing his belongings tomorrow. I realized that I can't do this. I can't forgive being told that he loves me less. That's not the example or standard that I want to set for my child as he grows. Love isn't something that you need to beg for, work for, or pretend. To make it worse, I asked my fiancé if he felt this way when he got engaged last August, to which he said, yes, I've just been lying to myself. This man had a baby with me and knew, possibly beforehand, that his heart wasn't in it, but didn't have the guts to tell me. So here we are, 6 years down the drain. I'm not sure if the reality of a child hit him, if infidelity is involved on his part, or if he lost attraction to me in the process of being pregnant. Could be all of the above, but I'll never know. And that's okay. I'm the primary provider for our son, and that won't change. Our son, who is 6 months old, will remain living with me full-time, and fiancé is welcome to visit son. We'll work out an agreement to ensure that he fulfills his financial obligation to our child, and I'm not afraid to pursue the legal route if needed. I'm 6 months postpartum, this is my first, and wow, it's been hard. But now I'm officially doing it solo, and with the help of my mum. I'm doing the damn thing, and I'm going to do my best. Wish me luck. Thank you to everyone for the words of encouragement. In the comments, quote, I'm not afraid to pursue the legal route if needed. I strongly suggest you have a court-ordered child support/arrangement worked out now. Waiting until there's a problem is too late. And with the way the dude's acting, he doesn't take his obligations seriously. Get your son everything he is entitled to. Get a court-ordered child support and visitation schedule set now. There is absolutely no advantage to not doing this. Playing catch-up after the fact, when things go wrong, is expensive, time-consuming, stressful, and highly likely to turn out poorly. Since your ex seems to be in a cooperative mood, this is an excellent time to get this set. Find a lawyer, get it drawn up cooperatively, and get it recorded with the courts. Good on OP for losing the dead weight, and I really hope that she pursues the legal route for child support. Same here. I have a feeling going the legal route will be the only way that she gets any money from him, considering he didn't contribute in any way financially, even though he was living rent-free. I doubt all the money was going back to the business. Sounds to me like he is well practiced at hiding his income though, which totally works. My ex-brother-in-law never had any income the courts could use for child support, but he lived a lot better than my sister and his children did. My state had so many people pulling that nonsense that they now base child support on minimum wage full-time wages, and you cannot pay less than that even if you have no income. They started straight up putting people in jail for failure to pay. Good. My friend's ex would work under-the-table jobs or run to his mummy, who would lie for him, drag the deadbeats, and take the child support. OP is too hard on herself. Yeah, it seems like she fell for the old, well, if you have a deadbeat partner who's a bad father, it's your fault for not picking better. Never mind the fact that these men often don't become this way or show their true colors until a child is already in the picture. Deadbeat dads are not the woman's fault, it's entirely on the man. And we need to stop perpetuating the myth that women bear some of the responsibility for picking wrong. The fact that he didn't even fight it, or even try and argue his point, is pretty damning, honestly. But yeah, never mind the fact that these men often don't become this way or show their true colors until a child's in the picture. Like, I understand why people are so averse to conflict and everything, but what a gigantic waste of time. 6 years, but also that extra 2 years or so, where he just wasn't bothered to leave the relationship, even though he knows he didn't love OP. So goes along with the engagement and gets her pregnant? Like, obviously he was doing it because he got free rent and everything paid for, and he didn't even have to raise his kid. Yeah, complete piece of shit right there. Get rid of him. I guess I don't really have anything else to say besides, it sucks that people like this exist. Good on you for just getting out of there straight away, OP. I look forward to more updates in the future if you have some, but either way, thank you for the story. Our next post is by user TurbulentHeat1819, titled, "Am I the asshole for getting a haircut without telling my husband first? I, 29 male, was running some errands today and spontaneously decided to get a haircut. My hair wasn't that long, only to my chin, but it's been bothering me for a while now. It's not a drastic difference, just a little bit shorter and a more conventionally masculine style. I didn't think about telling my husband, 41 male, before doing it. When I got home and he saw my new haircut, he immediately got pissed. I asked him if he liked it and he said that he didn't. He asked what I'd been thinking cutting off my hair without talking to him first. I honestly didn't think that it'd be such a big deal because it's just hair and it'll grow back eventually. But when I told him that, he completely freaked out and said that if I didn't care about it, I should just cut it all off. I'm now locked in the bathroom until I shave my head. I'm honestly in a bit of a shock because I didn't expect this to escalate this way. I don't want to shave my head, but I also don't want to stay in the bathroom forever. Is it really such a big deal that I didn't talk to my husband beforehand?" In the comments, Divine by Zero says, "Babe, run. I mean it, this is not normal. If you have your phone with you, call your emergency number now and get them to send the police, and then pack your stuff while they watch and leave. Never look back. There are so many red flags in this post, it's basically a Macy's parade. This doesn't get better, only worse. Please, for the love of all things cute and fluffy, get out now, not the asshole. Man or woman or non-conforming, no partner should dictate your appearance, ever. My mum had a running joke about filing for divorce if my dad ever shaved his beard. We knew that it was a joke because they both laughed whenever she said that. He stopped shaving at 18 and kept his beard until the day he died. None of us knew what he actually looked like under the beard. Seeing your normally beard or moustached dad without it is unsettling. Poor OP. I hope they're able to leave this guy eventually before it escalates too far and he gets hurt or murdered." Back up to the post, there's an update. I decided that it's not worth to fight over this, so I'm just going to shave it off. I kind of made it a bigger issue than it should have been anyway. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Also, I'm not a woman. That reads like someone with a gun pointed to their head, OP. Blink twice if you're in a predicament. You weren't making this a bigger issue than it should have been. I felt like if anything you were kind of minimizing it, and now you're minimizing it even further. You did not waste our time, OP. I hope you take the advice of everyone in the comments and you get out of there. I just hope that you look after yourself, you do what is best to keep yourself safe, and to get away from this guy because that sounds very dangerous. Updates. Where is the line between controlling and abusive? So my husband and I had a fight yesterday. It wasn't even anything serious, but it did escalate a bit. I got a haircut without talking to him about it first, and he got mad about it. I then made it worse by saying that it's not a big deal and just hair that will grow back, so he made me shave my head to prove his point. Sorry, I just can't visualize what his point is. Is the point that your hair won't grow back? What? He's always been a little bit neurotic about things like plans and giving him a heads up before I do anything. He generally doesn't like it when I do things that he hasn't approved first, like when I order something at a restaurant or when I make plans with people that he doesn't know that well. But that's just how he is. I guess he's a micromanager and can be a little bit uptight about things, but I never took any of that as abusive. When I made a post on Reddit about our fight yesterday, a lot of comments said that he is abusive. I don't think I'm being abused though. He never gets violent with me or forces me to do things that I don't want to, but it got me thinking that maybe there are things that I should look out for in case he ever changes. In the comments, controlling is abusive. You're allowed to do whatever you want with your body, like cut your hair, order and eat whatever food you want, see who you want, and go where you want. You don't need permission. Your husband is extremely abusive. You said that he never gets violent and doesn't force you to do things that you don't want. That's a delusional lie that you tell yourself. What would he have done if you had refused to shave your hair? I guarantee you that he would have held you down and done it himself. I'm also guessing that you didn't want to do it, so yeah, he does things to hurt you, and he definitely makes you do things that you don't want. And the latest updates, I left, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I just wanted to let you know that you were right. After what happened last month, things kept getting worse. Last night we had another fight that escalated, and after I was released from the hospital, I went straight to my sister's house. Tomorrow, her and her boyfriend are coming with me to collect some of my stuff. I'd like to think that I would have left him without your comments on my last post, but I'm honestly not completely sure if I wouldn't have just tried to find excuses for his behavior. So thank you for that. But even though I logically know that I should be glad that I got out before it could get really bad, I cried almost the whole night. I just can't help but feel that maybe I did overreact and should give him another chance. I won't do it, but it's just a bit overwhelming at the moment. In the comments, Smart Quokka says, "This is how it generally starts. One small thing leads to another, and then the demands slowly grow, as does the rage." I don't disagree with you, but for the sake of clarification to the broader audience here, I want to state that locking someone in a bathroom until they shave their head is actually a huge effing deal. Poor OP really minimized it. He minimized it to the point of saying, he never forces me to do things that I don't want to. He didn't force me to shave my head. He just held me captive until I did it. It's totally different. I'm so relieved that OP is away from his abuser, and I hope his posts and the responses to them will help others identify red flags in their own relationships and get out early. The brainwashing in abusive relationships is real. It really is. My ex replaced the lock on the bathroom door with a fisherman's rope. She said that it was seaside rustic, and then wanted to know why I was so desperate to lock myself away from her. By the end of the argument, I was apologizing to her for being boring and not interested in design, and promising to do more decorating for her. But it had started because I was frustrated that I couldn't even have a bath in peace because the door no longer closed properly. Yikes. I'm glad that he got out, but I'm sorry that it took a trip to the hospital for him to see that he was a victim of abuse. Man or woman, that can be the tipping point for a lot of people. Unfortunately, because a lot of people are still in the mindset of, well, they didn't beat me, so it's fine. And added to that, there's extra social stigma for male domestic violence victims as well, of which I'm sure are different if it's a male partnered as opposed to abuse from a female partner, which is often not taken seriously. I'm just glad that OP got himself out of there, and I hate to say it because I generally don't like slagging off age gaps in relationships and making assumptions because the internet only hears mostly about the worst cases. But as soon as I saw it, I wasn't surprised in the slightest. Yeah, look, I didn't immediately jump on the 29 and 41-year-old age gap there. I usually only really jump on that when the relationship starts around the teen years because I believe that you can have age gap relationships when they start later in life. I think that's fine. But I do think as well, definitely in this situation, that the age gap only helped exacerbate the problems in their relationship and helped exacerbate the abusive partner's behaviors and actions. They have 12 years of trial and error of abusing other people, I'd imagine, before this relationship, so seems that they did a pretty good job at it. As everyone else is, I'm very much glad that OP got out of there, and it sucks that a trip to the hospital was the tipping point and that you couldn't have realized earlier. Not to blame you, but it's like, to me, it's crazy that abuse is so insidious and it puts you in such fog that until you're like on the brink of serious threats of violence and death, that's when you're like, oh shit, this is actually abusive. Regardless, I'm glad that you listened to the comments on those posts, OP, and you're advocating for yourself here. That's very good news. I hope your partner stays gone out of your life, but looking forward to more updates in the future of what happens and how you manage to deal with this situation, good or bad. I think it would be a lot of help to other people that are in similar situations. But as always, I'm hoping for the best, and thank you for sharing your story with us. Our next post is by user ctreacle7062, titled, "Am I the asshole here for not wanting to lower my daughter's standard of living for her stepsister? Me and my ex-wife divorced around 5 years ago when she came out as lesbian. We're still really good friends, and we're both confused about what to do here. Around 2 years ago, she got married to Linda and her daughter Mia, 12 female. Confusing wording. She didn't also get married to the daughter. It's a very weird way to word that, OP. My daughter Anne is currently 17 years old. I've worked hard for the career and income that I have, and I'm not ashamed to want Anne to enjoy it. As such, I give her a relatively large allowance. Anne grew up volunteering at our local shelter with me and her mum weekly, so she isn't spoiled at all. Anne and Mia were really close at first, but recently Mia has been acting out about the lifestyle disparities between Anne and the rest of my ex-wife's household, like how unfair it is that Anne gets to order food for delivery whenever she wants, and how she has fancier electronics and clothes than what my ex and Linda can afford for her. Her biological father has passed away. It's gotten to the point that it started to affect her relationship with Anne. Last week was the last straw, when she said, I wish my dad was alive so that I would have the same stuff that Anne has. My ex-wife scheduled a meeting with me to talk about things. We pretty much seem to be on the same page since we both have no idea what to do. We are not comfortable with lowering Anne's allowance since we're worried that it would make her resent Mia. Nor are we comfortable with prohibiting her from using her allowance at her mother's place, since it might alienate her from her mother's household and make her not want to be there. My understanding is that Anne offers to share things she buys, makeup, food, clothes, with Mia sometimes, but not all the time. But I don't feel comfortable enforcing a sharing rule either, since my therapist advised that it usually breeds resentment. However, Linda has been very upset with both me and my ex-wife, since it's causing a lot of disturbance with Mia and a lot of big feelings, and if my dad was alive kind of stuff. And it's genuinely harming her mental health. Linda acknowledges that it is an unfair ask, but she asked me if I could have a talk with Anne about maybe saving some of her allowance to not spend so much in front of Mia, for the sake of creating a healthier and more harmonious household. I told her that I understand where she's coming from, but I don't feel comfortable controlling how my daughter spends money that I give her to spend as she pleases. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, someone asks, is there any possibilities if Anne could move in with OP? And OP says, we did think about this option, But one, having her move in with me is basically running away from conflict, rather than teaching compromise and conflict resolution. Would I have her move in with me whenever she had any sort of friction with anyone she was living with? 2, that is basically distancing herself from a loving, amazing mother. Not the arsehole. 5 years is a big age difference between the girls. Mum of the 12-year-old needs to have a conversation with her. It's not fair that the 17-year-old has to hold back for a 12-year-old. She's older and has more privileges. And if it's affecting the 12-year-old's mental health, and maybe she's regressing in her grieving for her dad, then she needs to be in therapy. The 17-year-old isn't responsible for her mental health and shouldn't be made to feel the way she is. OP says, yeah, see, this is the hard part. I want to strike a balance between you're not responsible for the feelings of others, while simultaneously communicating that you should still care about the feelings of those close to you, as kindness, mindfulness, and consideration are good qualities to have. Not the arsehole. The allowance you give to your daughter is none of Linda's business. Your daughter is 5 years older than her daughter, so there should be nothing to be surprised about the fact that she gets more pocket money. Not the arsehole. It sounds like a Mia and Linda issue. The way you and your ex-wife decided to co-parent and raise Anne is entirely your decision. Linda needs to address Mia's issues with her. It would be unfair to punish Anne for Mia's expectations. I agree. Your daughter deserves what she receives from you, OP. Linda should make Mia understand that she won't be able to get things her way, not the arsehole. I agree with that. I think that's entirely on the parenting of your wife's partner. To me, it seems like she's trying to get the easy way out of the situation by forcing your daughter to fall in line, instead of her being like, you know what, life is just unfair sometimes. You're going to see people out in the real world with big wealth disparities. That's not your fault, that's not my fault, and that's not something that you should, let take over you. You shouldn't seek to be like, I want fairness. And yeah, she's 12 years old, it's understandable, she's learning about the world, her prefrontal cortex is not fully established, puberty is happening, emotions are going to be going real wild right now, as well as the fact that her dad is dead and this is making her regress. OP, I think even if you were to lower your daughter's standard of living, there is damage being done and there is a snowball effect currently happening with Mia. That child is desperately in need of some better parenting and therapy. It doesn't sound like she's in therapy, it sounds like she needs some help, and if she's constantly bringing up her dead father, please get her some help. My God, why is her mother dropping the ball like this and trying to get others to fix this issue? I feel like this should be entirely on Mia's mother to fix Mia's issues. With Mia, not forcing other people around her to change. Not the arsehole OP. Update. So after thinking about it for a while, I still don't think that it's effective to enforce anything. Making Anne share everything with Mia, or banning her from using her allowance at her mother's place, will just create resentment towards Mia. Having her spend more time here is also alienating her from her mum. However, I am of the opinion that there is more to parenting than just enforcing rules, and encouraging good qualities, even without a consequence attached, is also important for older kids. I will not force Anne to do anything to pacify Mia or punish her for it, but I decided it is perfectly fine, and I dare say necessary, for me to have a heart-to-heart with her about the hurt that she is intentionally causing to Mia, and the potential future ramifications of that. I'm going to talk to her when she comes over tomorrow, and I'm going to bring up the following points. The allowance I give her is hers to spend as she pleases. This has been and will remain her right. However, spending money on Uber Eats and clothes and other things in front of Mia is upsetting to her, given both the fact that she's a child who doesn't understand financial matters just yet, and that she only has one parent to provide for her. Mia might eventually grow up to understand, or she might not. Even if she does understand later, the upset caused in the meantime will be damaging to their relationship, and possibly to her relationship with Linda. Sometimes we do things we don't want to do, and not necessarily fair or just in the traditional sense, to protect relationships we value. It's sometimes better to be happy than right. Doing this does not necessarily mean that you're a doormat, and it's an important part of living in a society. Granted, this is only okay if done sometimes, not over every single issue in a relationship, and ultimately it is up to her and her alone to determine if that particular relationship is worth it. I feel like what I'm doing is a good balance between not encroaching on Anne's rights, but also encouraging kindness and consideration, and letting her know about the potential consequences of what she's doing as an older adult. Please feel free to give some more advice about what I should include in the talk. In the comments, they are a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. They are not in the same place in life. What if Anne had a part-time job and this was how she was making money? Would she still have to control her spending around Mia so that her feelings aren't hurt? Having a talk with Anne, but not outright forbidding her, is a distinction without a difference. It's still punishing Anne and coddling Mia. OP says, "I'm not punishing her. We live in a society. Sometimes sacrifices are necessary to avoid upsetting those that you love and care about. If and only if Anne cares enough. She deserves to be told about the ramifications of her actions so that there are no surprises she gets to regret later. If she doesn't care enough, that's her own choice and her right. The absolutism here is insane. Don't be a Sith." Has nobody else said that the root of the issue has less to do with money and more to do with the jealousy that Mia has because Anne's father, OP, is alive and able to be active in Anne's life? I think the money is the vague top issue. But if you dig deeper, it's the unresolved grief of knowing that Mia will never have her dad's support because he isn't alive to give it. Mia needs therapy, both individual and possibly family with your ex-wife, and possibly even Anne, so the girls can speak with a professional from their different points of view. I understand OP isn't expected to provide this therapy, but pass this info on to Anne's mom, as I think Linda's resentment is misplaced because she's only seeing the money issue and not addressing the grief issue here. If Mia's parents refuse therapy for a child, then Anne may be better off staying with OP, as her mom has bigger issues with her spouse than she may be willing to admit. If they were biological siblings with both parents available, they still wouldn't be getting the same amount of allowance, or shouldn't be anyway. But this bollocks of not talking to Anne about the issue is ridiculous. It's not going to kill her to know the way that someone's feeling. So many people here go on about communication, but heaven forbid you tell a teen something that might make her think. Yeah, in this case, it's probably more that the tween is thinking, I don't have this and never will because my father is passed. Usually, when you have an older sibling, they have more money and more privileges. But you know that you'll get there someday. This kid knows that that's not in the cards for her now or ever. Her sister's rich dad is like a fairy godmother that she'll never have. End results are still the same, and the kid certainly needs some grief counseling, but it's sad when the conflict is so core to just life not being fair. I think that last bit sums it up. Ultimately, the issue boils down to life isn't fair, and that's not really something that you can fix. You can't fix that, but you can let the older kid know. 17 is old enough to have an adult conversation about how the younger sibling feels. The result might be them treating to younger more, but as OP said, only if they want to. I was the youngest, and my siblings often took me out to fun events. I never saw it as something that I was owed, and it just strengthened my relationship with them. Anna should be told how always just getting her own food and stuff makes the younger sister feel. She then has the information to decide what she wants to do. The lesson is very simple. Be mindful to those around you. Flashing your money in front of a poor person is terrible. This situation is no different. OP teaching the daughter about mindfulness is absolutely necessary to have a decent human. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!